Okay, and we are live with Mariam Saada from California. ازيك يا مريم عاملة ايه؟
يا حنونة، ازيك؟ اخبارك ايه؟
أنا عارفة احنا متأخرين شوية بس هناخد like 10 minutes talk كده as brief as possible عشان عندنا speaker اسمها scheduled for 8 فنعتذر ان احنا اتأخرنا يا جماعة. يلا يا مريم انت عندك 9 minutes to go.
Okay, one second.
احنا هنتكلم النهارده على الفرق بين الفيزيكال كلاس روم والفيرتشوال كلاس روم والدنيا عامله ازاي بنقع الانترسكشن فين between the both two worlds.
بصي يا حنان, I think the most important thing is ان الواحد يعرف ان احنا دلوقتي a teacher if the teacher is not effective and up to speed, the teacher has become obsolete. So I think really have to, the teachers in our day and time, we can't afford not to up our game, if you wish, if that's the word to say. It used to be that the teacher is the center of learning and the students are just like there. And it doesn't matter. The teacher had like all this power and there's like power struggle. I think nowadays with technology is really what is showing that students are running the show. And teachers have to keep up with technology. And I think it's the generational difference. There's so much learning to go. So when you graduate and you're ready to teach and you are the teacher, it doesn't mean anything anymore because you have to continuously, like the continuous education is more important than the education itself. I think this is really something that every teacher needs to, you don't have to feel frustrated by the process, but go with the flow.
حلو قوي الجملة دي يا مريم, يعني more important than education, ongoing education على طول, ongoing learning.
Ongoing learning is more important than the actual learning itself. And I think it's a bit sad to say that because then you feel like you're established your educational background and you're ready to go and you're ready to give. But you have to keep up with the time and space, and the students are ahead of us. So if we as teachers can't keep up with the students, they're going to be at a higher, like it's not a fair game to play because technology, we were not, like when we were going to school, we were not exposed to half of the technological devices and techniques and apps and all these things that the students are exposed to. So for us to really so I'm going to show you a few things that I do, a few things that I actually benefited from the online experience, and then the things that there's no way we can give up in our like in-person experience. So if I can share my screen, I just want to quickly go through my presentation. I want to I don't think I can, hold on one second.
Share the screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen. One second. It's not allowing me for some reason. One second.
Your co-host, I did you. طب احكي لنا عليها.
Sorry. So basically the synchronous and asynchronous classroom. So when the teacher was, nowadays you could do an entire online class and you don't need to exist as a teacher at all. Like you can be gone. So they have all these classes on Canvas and all these different platforms where you don't need the teacher to go through the entire material, get a quiz done, take a test, do a project, submit your assignments, no feedback whatsoever. You just get a grade and you're done. You get the credits, you get the units, and you're done. But the human experience remains crucial. And a teacher like myself, I do language instruction. It's a bit frustrating to feel like you could be replaced with an app. Students can have a Duolingo app, and all of a sudden they have a language instructor. They don't need you anymore because as an app you could be, or even worse, Google Translate. Okay, so if you're teaching language and the students feel like, oh, I don't need language, I don't need to learn a language anyways because Google Translate will do the job for me. But the issue with language instruction is the human aspect of it is really what triggers in the brain all the learning experience. So it's this inhumane form of education can backfire on students. So I had here like that the teachers. So the in-person learning, one thing that I really like to emphasize is the strong connections, creating strong connections between students. Okay, so I make them friends, and I make them friends with everyone. So there's no such a thing called I don't work with so-and-so, I don't like so-and-so, this person is not my friend, I don't get along with this. So you really, the interperson connection in the classroom is really key. So in other classes, they don't get to work with the people they don't know, or they don't like, or they don't really like, So that's one huge aspect. Another one is, Hanan, I think we've seen a lot of mental health issues arising from just being isolated and learning on your own. This being together and feeling it and laughing and joking and humor, like just in general, the human connection is directly linked with mental health, just feeling good inside and feeling like you. So there is this big aspect. So yes, online classes are nice, but make sure that the students' mental health is also taken into consideration. Another aspect is differentiated learning. Online learning doesn't take into consideration how you learn. So I think it takes me about 2 months of testing to see the learning styles of all my students. That takes a long time. I have to keep track. Who's a visual learner? Who needs to touch stuff? Who needs to hear it 5 times? Who's like, how do they learn? Because every student, I put them in groups once I know their learning styles. So, hey, you guys do this for me. You guys listen to this and tell me what you think. You guys produce this for me. So everyone is, depending on their learning style, when they actually feel like you got their learning style, they don't have time to goof around and have any behavioral issues or any classroom, distractions and things, because you've really analyzed their learning styles. And I think that is something online doesn't do for us. Unfortunately, online, okay, here's a breakout room, go in, interact with your friend, or you don't interact. And as a teacher, you're popping into the Zoom chats, and you don't know what they're doing. They're really like doing something else, playing a video game. Even if you're trying to monitor their screens and you go on and you're like the policing, you become the teacher becomes the student policing device. And that's not the point. If they are engaged in doing the work, you don't need to police anything, because they are producing and they're doing and they're presenting and you're seeing the work. I think that's a very important point, is that teachers can't just see themselves, I'm here to police their screens and monitor what they do and make sure they're not, I had some students do stock market. During class, they were checking the stock market. Like staying on top. And actually, to be honest with you, the student that was really in love with the stock market, I became fascinated by the stock market and included it in my lesson, so the student can feel like, oh my God, we're talking about stock market, because every time the student was distracted, was doing stock market. So I said, okay, you know what? We're doing stock market.
How did you know?
I pass by and the screen just shifts. There's always, they're better than us, Hanan. I think this is really what the teachers have to recognize. Students are smarter than us. Okay, so this is not something an insult to teachers, but really something to keep in mind, that if you think you're smart, they're smarter. They have it all figured out. You're really trying to catch up.
I would ask you, we need to stop by now. So is anything that you want to say as the last word, آخر حاجة تقدري تقولها لنا as a wrap up, عشان we're time bound with 8 o'clock speaker.
I think the last thing I'd like to say is that it's important for a teacher to create a comfortable environment for learning, and for the learning to have a meaning. If the students don't get the meaning of why you're doing what you're doing, they're not going to be on board. They're not going to be with you. So I always, because as a language instructor, I always say we're doing this to communicate with other human beings. So if they don't, if they get distracted and get off task, I really bring them back to the main point. Hey, you guys know why we're doing this. We're doing this because we are going to communicate with other people, and there's no way we can communicate unless we get the grammar and the vocab and all that stuff down. So I think them knowing why we're doing what we're doing is key, because if it's just a grade, at the end of the day, I think my last point I want to say is education is not an A or a B or a C grade. And they need to know that grades, families emphasize grades and report cards. College is all about grades and who has the percentages to get into what college. So I think as teachers, we need to really not emphasize grades and emphasize learning, not grades. And I care about learning more than grade. I have students, I always tell them, you are an A student if you put in your maximum effort. And I think effort needs to be applauded more than just the actual grade, because grades can actually reflect on self-esteem, bring them down, make them feel not stupid. I'm not smart enough. I'm not getting the grades I need. My parents will yell at me, and all the, like, just whatever it takes. That grades really should not be the main focus in educational experience.
Thank you so much, Mariam, again, for such a short and quick and brief idea. I like the idea about the policing. We're not going to be policing. يعني احنا مش هنبقى يعني ماشيين على راسهم كده بندور في كل حاجة. You want a comfortable connection with the children and with the students. And I really like the idea of incorporating the stock market in your lesson plan عشان to attract the kids who are interested in the lesson plan. So thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you, Mariam.
Thank you, Hanan.
كان نفسي نبقى بدري شوية أكتر عشان ندي more أكتر كلام كده.
I apologize for the time difference. Sorry, Hanan.
أنا عارفة have a good day stay tuned for other speakers إن شاء الله. يلا سلام يا مريم. Thank you so much. Quick and nice.